Hello. So you have probably heard the term webinar, right? Maybe you've even attended one or many. But I find that a lot of people still have questions about it. The idea behind them, why people do them, what are the benefits of them? Are there any, cons of it? And most importantly, what's involved in running one for our own businesses. So join me on this episode of Let's Talk Tech, and we're going to talk about the business of business webinars. Let's get started. Okay, so webinars are a thing that's been around for a very long time, but a lot of people seem to think that it's something that only other people do. And that may be the case, but there may also be an opportunity here for those of us with small businesses to tap into this. There's also some alternatives that maybe people don't think of, like they tend to put webinars in a very specific box. And so we're going to talk about maybe breaking out of that box and turning things into more of a solution for us. So let's get into the details. Here we go. Hey, oh, that worked that time. So webinars, what are they, right? We always start off from the basics. I like to, not make people feel uncomfortable, right? If we start off from the basics, then everybody's starting from the same point. So we're talking about the word webinar, first of all, right? So it comes from the term, the idea of a web-based seminar. Okay, so it's kind of an old term. If you think about web blogs, these terms may not be completely up to date now, but they're just a part of our vernacular. So this is what we refer to them as. And in general, what people mean when they talk about a webinar. Sorry, I'm scratching the puppy. He's a little itchy because of the dry weather. So when people are talking about webinars, in general, what they're talking about is a live virtual event that's based on, it's hosted on the internet, obviously, and it's usually got instructional content, right? So a webinar, when you're going to do one, is going to have real content. It's not just a sales pitch, which some people do make the mistake of. But if you expect people to stay around for more than 2 minutes, it needs to have content that means something to them, right? They need to be getting value from it beyond whatever offering you may or may not be making. So that's super important. Good evening, John, over on Facebook. Good to see you. So you want to make sure that you've got that. Now, so whether you're talking about maybe launching a new product or a new course or, anything like that, you want to make sure that the webinar content itself is useful, regardless of whether or not they get into business with you or make a purchase or whatever. So there's different types which are listed here: education, demonstration, instructions, that type of thing. And the upside of it for us is it's an extremely cost-effective way of sharing information with a very large group of people. Now, the one thing that I'm going to just jump off into here for a minute is the fact that people are going to be saying at this point, well, yeah, but there's other options now. And that's true. When webinars first started, webinars were the option. If you wanted to reach a large number of people, then you were going to need to do a webinar, right? Because these were pre-social, right? They were pre-Facebook, they were pre-Instagram. Like the history of webinars goes way back. Hey, Petra. So Petra says good night. That's right. I forget. It's a global audience, right? I'm saying good evening, but it could be morning, afternoon, whatever, depending on where you are or when you're watching this, right? It's all highly relative. So basically, you always have a webinar because the content you bring. Well, so that's where I'm going with this. Exactly. I knew you'd get this. So that is exactly what I'm talking about. Is people tend to pigeonhole webinars to be a certain thing, but if you think about it, in this day and age, pretty much all the content you're doing is sort of, especially if you're doing any kind of live streaming or videos, it's sort of a mini webinar. Now, there are some differences. In a more focused way, webinars are more of an event, more of a scheduled thing in general, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. Hey, Jason, over on YouTube, how you doing? But so you're going to, as you're thinking this, you're absolutely right. So a webinar used to be the only way to get your message out to a large number of people. Now there are other ways to do that on a more regular basis, but people tend to turn to webinars when they're doing something big, okay, whatever big ends up being, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. So let's just keep going. Okay, so why would you run one? You can definitely do it just to be educational, right? To share information with your audience, your potential audience, people who are maybe contacts that you aren't actually doing business with you yet. There's lots of different ways that these can be educational. These are handy because they can be watched later. My live streaming friends are going, well, so is live streaming. And that's true. They can be attended from anywhere, just like live streaming. And they're cost effective. Although now maybe there's even more cost effective methods, but these are basic realities of webinars and this is why people use them. So when would you use them? So you would use a webinar if you were looking to turn a list of contacts into clients, right? So if you had collected a bunch of folks that had expressed some level of interest in what you were doing, but hadn't actually jumped in yet. Very often a webinar is a good way to do that because it gives you that opportunity to gather them together, have a focused conversation, right? Do a demo, provide education, introduce new products, whatever it is that you're picking, and you really want to pick one of those. You want to be very focused. Webinars tend to be very focused. But it's a great way to get those people in, give them a chance to ask questions, and learn more about what you're doing. You can also do it just to create buzz, right? If you've got something coming or if you're looking to expand your reach a little bit, it's a great way to create buzz as long as your content is buzz-worthy, which is the challenge there. It's a great way to increase brand awareness, absolutely 100%. Engaging with your audience is sort of built into the concept of the webinar, right? The webinars, whether you're doing like a basic homegrown one where you're kind of cobbling together the solution, or if you're using a tool like, GoToMeeting, Webinars to Go, there's a bunch of different ones. People do them on Zoom. By virtue of the fact that you're there live, and we'll talk about the recorded ones later, but by the virtue of the fact that you're doing it right and you're live, right, and you've got a chat, or maybe you've got people live on video, it's giving them a chance to ask questions, interact with you in a way that they might not be able to do otherwise. It's great for increasing lead generation. So if maybe you don't have all of those contacts yet that you were looking for, you can promote, advertise the webinar, make it a special event, and only let select people in, like they have to sign up for it. Do all of those things that generate that buzz around the event itself, the webinar itself, and then get people to come and be dazzled by the way that you present yourself and the information that you provide and how helpful you are and how informative you are. Education and training is definitely a big part of it, and it's just a great general way to build your list and generate the qualified leads that maybe you don't have yet otherwise, or that you're just building off of. Okay, who can use it? Anybody. Literally anybody can run a webinar. It does not matter how big, small you are. It does not matter your budget. There are solutions for everyone out there. Just as some examples, it does run the gamut. If you're a home-based business, if maybe you've got a hobby that you're looking to monetize or just share your knowledge on, you can do it. Self-employed, solos, all of us, anybody, anybody who has an internet connection, a camera and a microphone, can use a webinar and can benefit from it. So real quick, how do they work, right? So basically there's, in general, 10 steps to it, right? So you're going to have to do some planning, right? This is generally not something that is spontaneous. So you're going to pick a day and time, you're going to choose your topic, you're going to spend a lot of time working on your content, refining it, testing. You want it to be a solid, however long, half hour, 90 minutes. You want to make sure that you've got solid content. You're balancing off visuals with conversation, that type of thing. You're going to want to make sure that you can, that you're tapping in. So make sure you got a hashtag for it. You want to, send out, you want to come up with a good title. You want to get a good description. You want to get your hashtags in place. You want to send out invitations. Now that could be actual email invitations. It could be paper invitations. I've actually gotten in the traditional snail mail regular invitations to webinars that way. It was something different. You don't get those kind of things in the mail anymore. So that is certainly a way to go. But you can do email. You can run ads on the different platforms. There's lots of ways. You can be very creative with that type of thing. And then, of course, you're going to really want to work hard on building that content. You're going to do lots of practice runs, not just one. You want to be really solid by the time you get those people in front of you to show up, because keeping their attention is not easy. There's a lot of distractions in this world. Then you're going to host it, right? You're going to interact with everybody. You're going to provide the information you've promised. You're maybe going to throw in some extras, right? Some surprises, some giveaways, whatever it is that fits best for what goal you're trying to achieve and the reason why people have come to watch your webinar and participate in it. After the fact, don't forget to follow up, right? In particular, if you've had people, sign up beforehand, then you've got all their information. If you haven't done that, then you want to make sure that you are giving them an opportunity to get follow-up information. So maybe, do a poll or submit a survey or give them a link, after the fact so that they can provide that information to you. And you want to seriously consider making that recording available later. So that because, again, people are going to get distracted, they wanted to be there, something happened, they couldn't make it. So you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of that content and you're making it available to all the people who wanted to participate in it. Now, when you're doing all of this, you want to think about what you're providing to people. People get very tied up in what you're trying to put out there, right? What you want them to do for you. But if you want a successful webinar, your goal, your focus, everything that you do around it needs to be about why people are there, what they're looking to get from it, why they would sign up for it, why they would maybe want to tell other people about it. If you keep the focus there, the rest of it will come. But if you are just sell, me, I can promise you people are going to leave very quickly and not come back. So you want to be very clear about that. There's also a trend among some folks to call it a webinar, okay? And the expectation with most people when they hear webinar is that it will be live. Live in there's the person who is presenting is there talking to them. There are people now who are doing pre-recorded webinars, but they're considering it live because somebody's in the chat to respond to questions. That is not the best possible scenario. Now, there may be reasons why you have no other choice, but the best scenario is you talking to the people, much like you do in a live stream or in a video. And if you are not going to do it live, don't try to fake it. That right away undermines your credibility. So you want to make sure that you are being honest with your audience, right? And so if they're coming in and they're saying, is this live? Are you really there? Don't try to hide that. Don't have the people who are in chat, working for you, or if you're in chat answering questions, be honest about it, and then let them, they're going to make the decision on whether or not they're okay with your answer and whether or not they're going to stick around. But you do want to be honest about that. The other thing that I noticed that people do when they're doing webinars, which personally I think is a mistake, is that they hide, right? So here, I'll give you the feeling for this. Wait a second, I'd probably have that here. Here, let's do it this way. So they're gonna possibly hide behind a screen, and they're going to have just the stuff come up, but they're never, ever, ever going to let you see their face and let you see them talking. This is not a good idea, right? The whole point of this is to engage with people, and people do not want to engage with your slide deck, okay? The fact that I could sit here and talk over this and never ever actually be on screen and show all that kind of stuff, yeah, maybe there are days where that's exactly what I feel like I want to do, but that's not what people respond to. So you have to think about this, right? If you were going to have these people come, if you were going to invite them, if you had a store, to your store, or if you were going to rent a hall and invite people, would you go and hide backstage with a mic and just talk to them that way and just have an empty stage and an empty room and leave them all sitting there looking at each other like, what the heck's going on? Okay, this is not a time for the great and powerful Oz, okay? You need to be you. You need to be out there. You need to face these folks. I know, everybody's like, I don't like that. I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like being on camera. Me either. Okay, a couple of years ago, there's no way I ever thought I would end up doing this. But you know what? It works. And you can do it. Believe me, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So let's talk a little bit about the tools. So there are tools out there that you can go and you can, pay for the service. You can do it for, some of them will do it by event, some do it by month or year or whatever. And those are good options because it solves a lot of your problems, right? You don't have to worry about getting all the right pieces in place. It's all there for you. It also provides you with amazing analytics. So for example, if you're using something like a GoToMeeting or Webinars to Go or whatever version of that you're using, it will tell you, how many people signed up, how many people showed up, Are they paying attention? So because you install a tool to actually use that, your audience would install a tool to use that, it's actually keeping track of when they've clicked off of your webinar to maybe respond to an email or whatever. So you can actually see all that kind of stuff. It also has built into it the chat and polls and sharing content, like if you have PDFs you want to give out or whatever. So all these pieces, all these nice little bits of functionality that make your webinar more engaging are there for you. Now, these are not free, but the prices are way more reasonable than you would probably expect, and they have different levels. Like, so if you're expecting up to 500 people, up to 10,000 people, it's all, step-based, and you can always scale up as you need to. In most cases, you can also scale down. You can also go guerrilla with it, right? You can go very homebrew with it, and basically, if you are able to create videos or do live streaming, you could do it that way. You're going to have to come up with solutions for if you want to have chat, or if you want to have giveaways, or if you do want to do, this type of thing where you've got, elements and overlays and lower thirds and that kind of stuff. So you do want to, be realistic about how much of that tech stuff you want to put together yourself versus going and using an existing tool. There's plenty of them out there. You could go just real basic and just do something like Zoom, where you can get a bunch of people in the room together. Zoom has free levels and paid levels, and it gives you the mic, the video. People can choose to turn those on or off. You can also control them yourself, and it also gives you a chat option. So, and you can record it and download it, so all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely sliding scale. You can definitely do this on very different budgets. Really, the important thing is to know what you're doing, right? And to make sure that you go through all of these steps. Hey, I got it right. Go through all of these steps, and that you really got it all planned out if you want to do that. Now, as I was going through and I was reading like some of the older stuff, because I wanted to compare how people used to talk about webinars versus how they talk about them today. And what surprised me was on both sides, people were still talking about webinars not only as a big, focused event, right? Something that people, you want to create some FOMO about, right? If you're missing out, you want people to be there, you're scheduling it way in advance, we're talking like weeks in advance, sometimes months in advance. You're doing all kinds of promotion about it, all that kind of stuff. But then the other thing is they start talking about doing it for like just regular outreach and regular engagement, and maybe doing webinar every week or webinar a couple times a week. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like this. That sounds like live streaming to me. So don't get yourself too wrapped into a particular thought. Like if you're gonna, do it, don't think like, only webinar, only doing this, only live stream, only doing this. There's a blurred line between these, and which side of that line you end up on is up to you based on your audience and their goals and your content. I will say that I do know like some people who only do webinars, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it does not create a constant reason for people to show up, right? Because you're not consistently doing it. It's not like you're doing it every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, right? So you do want to think about maybe doing a mix of things, and if you're going to do live streams, do them on a regular basis. Have a day and a time when people know they can come and they can hang out and they can get information about you, and if they miss it, that they can go get the recording. But you can also work webinars in if you want to do it for a special event or a special reason or a special launch. These are not things that cancel each other out, and like I said, they can be sort of fluid in between. So that is basically what I have for you tonight. Webinars are certainly a viable way to go. It can be very simple to set it up, and it does not require a whole lot more than you probably have right in front of you on whatever device you're working from right now to check this out. As always, if you have questions, oh, my little thingy died here. Let me see if I can fix that. So that's something new. We'll talk about that in a minute. See if it comes back up. But if you have questions, if you want to learn more about it, if you're not sure what is the right approach for you, for whatever your particular situation is, feel free to reach out. Go to yourtechcoach.net, and you can sign up for a free 45-minute consultation with me, where we can walk through who you are, what your business is, who your audience is, and then help you figure out which way you want to go with this. And unfortunately, it looks like my little thing stopped. Oh well. We're working on that. So you probably noticed So underneath here, I had a chat window. I want to call it closed captions because that's what people refer to it as, but it really isn't closed captions. It really is. Here, I can show it on you here. I can show it to you on here because it stopped working in the little window. But I have a little tool here that catches what I'm saying and puts it on the screen. Oh, there it goes. It came back. It took a little minute there. I've tested a lot of them. So far, this has been the most successful, although right there, I don't know what went wrong. My main problem is, and I'm going to give you an example of this right now. I talk really fast because I'm from the East Coast and we talk really fast all the time. And this is the only tool that I found so far that doesn't absolutely blow up when I try to do that. Oh, shoot, it did actually. So, okay, again, for the most part, this has been working really well. All the other tools that I tried just gave up. They would just absolutely give up. This one at least makes a really good attempt at keeping up with me and presenting all of the text. And so it's pretty good. It also does something interesting as far as like other noises. So normally I would turn the mic off for this, but just for the example. So you see there, it actually says that I'm coughing. And if the dog barks, it'll say barking. So that's something that a lot of the other tools didn't do. So I'm just testing this out. I would love to hear from you what you think of this, if this is helpful, if it's too distracting, all that kind of stuff. It does seem to be a little unhappy right now. Oh, well, maybe because I touched the screen. It seems like when I touch the screen, I didn't know about that. If I touch the screen, it freezes it. Okay, so I will not touch the screen anymore. But anyway, yeah, I'd like to know, is this helpful? Is it not? Do you not care? Did you never notice it until I pointed it out or until it wasn't working? Well, that's good. I'm just kind of curious what people think. I feel very strongly about accessibility, and so that's why I've been looking at this, but also because it's helpful for everybody. So if you are, on the subway or on the bus, and maybe you don't want to have the audio going, then you have this option here, or maybe you're just, in a temporary situation where maybe it's a little hard for you to hear, you've got an ear infection or whatever, so it serves a lot of possible purposes for people. So I thought I would give it a try. So yeah, let me know. I'm like I said, I'm curious to see if this kind of thing is helpful. It doesn't block the QR code, so we've got that. It doesn't get in the way of the lower thirds, so we're got good on that. So it's a little something we're trying. And speaking of trying, if you would like to stay up to date on the shows and the other things that I am working on this year, you can sign up for the mailing list, yourtechcoach.net/mailing list. Let's see what it does with that. And you don't have to worry. I don't sell the list. It's not going to go to, you're not going to get spam mail. You're not going to get, ads from anybody. This is just a way for me to share and keep you up to date on what's going on with the different shows. So feel free. It's free. All I ask for is an email address. If you want to give me your name, that's fine too. Whatever works. All right, everybody. I hope that you are going to at least consider webinars versus live stream versus video. Maybe not versus. Maybe it's and webinar and live stream and video. Figuring out what's the right balance for you and your target audience, and dive in and give it a try. We will talk to you again next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Mixer. Until then, I hope you have a great week, and we will talk again soon. Bye.